assembly level programming, I told you already that it is the machine dependent language. To some extent we can understand, to some extent the computer understands. Sometimes it is also called a middle level language. Now, as part of the software concepts chapter, let us go to the next topic, next language called high level language. See, in the last session we studied about the machine level language, assembly level language. Both are machine dependent languages, and I told you they are not portable. But whereas high level language is the one which the user can understand easily, but the computer cannot understand that language. Okay, what is to be done for executing user's language, user written program using a computer, any computer? We need to have a translator. We need to have translators. So high level languages are written in English language, basically. I have told you already, with so many languages you can communicate with the system. With so many languages you can have your problems solved using a computer. With so many languages you can write the programs and then execute them in the system. With their own set of codes, especially in the data representation chapter, you will have one thing called ASCII. That ASCII is American Standard Code for Information Exchange. But whereas the same thing, if I want to use it in my country, I can use ISCI, ISCII, Indian Standard Code for Information Interchange. So with the Indian languages I can communicate, and with the Indian languages I can write the instructions. With the Indian languages I can write the programs and execute them. Something like that. High level language is basically user understandable language, and of course basically it is written in English. Okay, English like language can be used. Not exactly the complete statement is written in English, but almost equivalent to English language. Like you have the grammar in the other languages, any communication, any languages. You have the set of rules for writing a program also. That set of rules for writing a program is called the syntax. Writing an instruction is called a syntax. We call it as syntax, and using that syntax we can frame an instruction which will be understood by the human being, and using a translator it can be translated, converted into the machine understandable form, and then it can be executed. Lots of advantages are there using this language. One of them is, it is machine independent. We call it as portability. It's called portable. Machine independent. In the sense, the program which is written in one particular computer or one particular environment, we call it as environment also, operating system. Many types of operating systems are there. Single user, multi-user, multitasking, something like this, multi-threading or some such languages. Or maybe different versions of operating systems may also be there. Unix operating system, Xenix operating system, Windows environment, we call it as environment. So the program which is written in one particular operating system, in the sense in one particular environment, can be executed in any environment. That is called portability. Maybe with some minor alterations, sometimes it is not required. Some minor alterations, it can be executed in the other system also. That is the main advantage of this language. Second advantage is user understandable. When it is understood by the user easily, he can write the instruction, the user can write the instruction User can understand the instruction. User can make the changes necessary, required on his own. Or user can correct the mistakes if any. Like you have the grammar error, you will have syntax error. That syntax error can be corrected by the user on his own or on own. Right? So, these are the advantages of the high-level languages. But one problem with this is it needs a translator. It needs a translator because this is user understandable language, not in the computer understandable language. Suppose you want to execute that in a system, this needs to be translated to machine level language. So you need to have a translator. There are two types of translators you have. Like you have an assembler to translate the assembly language to machine level language. You have two translators called compilers and interpreter. Compiler and interpreter. Okay, using this compiler and interpreter, the program can be changed, translated from high level language to the machine level language. For translation, for conversion, some time is required. That is why it takes more time to execute compared to machine level language. It takes more time to execute compared to assembly level language. High speed machine level language, no doubt, because it is there in the machine understandable language. Directly it can be executed. Assembly level language program to be converted, translated to machine level using assembler. High level language program can be translated to the machine level language by using compiler or interpreter. Program can be easily modified by the user. Program can be changed according to the specifications, different specifications by the user itself. That is the advantage of that is one of the advantages of high level languages. Some set of rules I told you. You need to follow those rules to write the instructions, like you have the grammar in English. Some of the languages can be C, C++, Java, Fortran, Basic, and that also you have versions, different versions. QBasic is one. Quick Basic and that. You call it as Quick Basic, and there are so many types, class examples. Pascal is there. One simple example is there to understand the high level language concept. There is one thing called cin that is used in the C++ language to accept the values of any number of variables. Example is given there. Cin a, b, two values are accepted. And of course, we need to find the sum of those two. Simple. The very next statement is C is equal to A plus B. Next statement is to output the answer. Easy to understand. I told you there are certain, general rules we need to follow. With those set of rules, one can write the instructions, one can write the programs easily in this language. Okay. Then some languages which are written, some programs which are written in this language can be converted to the other language also easily. For language portability, we call it as language portability. Even that can also be done. Suppose I have written a program in C language, can be converted into C++, can be incorporated into C++ programming. Easy. Some slight modification will be there. That is one of the major advantages of this high-level languages. Next, when we talk about the high-level languages, I told you, machine independent. Advantages are there. Machine independent. Easy to learn the language, easy to understand the language, easy to modify, easy to change the errors, correct the errors. We call it as debugging. Bug is an error in a program. Like you have grammatical error, like you have grammar error, you have an error called bug, syntax error, or it can be a logical error, or it can be some other error. Logical, syntax, semantics, runtime, these are the few types of errors you will have. Syntax error is something like the grammar error in English. That can be corrected easily. Okay, that's also one of the advantages of this high level language. Disadvantages. Suppose you have some set of advantages, you will have some disadvantages also. Like you have machine level language, fast in execution, no need to have a translator, but difficult to understand the language, right? Difficult to understand the language, difficult to modify, difficult to find out the errors in a program. And yet also, the machine language is machine dependent language. Our low level language, which is written in binary, is machine dependent. Similarly, assembly language. You have advantages, disadvantages. More of advantages are there in high level languages than compared to machine. They are negligible. Like for example, it is slow in execution because it needs to be translated and then it has to be executed. Time will be consumed there. Two types of translators will be are required for the sake of conversion from high level language to machine level language program. And it requires more memory space also. The reason is, you have a source program, you have an object program. Object program in the sense it is there in the form of machine understandable form, understandable language. And then executable program. For one single program, you will have 3 different files occupying memory space, either in the secondary memory or in the primary memory. Primary memory, of course, for execution it will be used. Then immediately after execution, automatically the contents will be removed. But that occupies more space in the secondary memory. Even the primary memory space is also required more. So it uses more memory space. Next, let's find out what are those translators, language translators. I told you, assembly language program to be executed only after translating that into machine level language. High level language program is to be translated into machine level language program and then it can be executed. So we have 3 translators basically. One is called an assembler, which converts the assembly level language program. I mean, in the sense, the language which uses mnemonics, the language which uses the coded words or coding. Using coded words, you can write a program. But the computer cannot understand, so it has to be translated using an assembler. How to convert high-level language program into machine-level language program, you need to have 2 translators. One is called a compiler, the other one is called an interpreter. Compiler translates an error-free program into machine-level language program at one stage. You have a complete program, that program will be translated automatically into the machine level language program if it is free with errors. Suppose any error is there, it cannot detect. So, error-free program or error-free high-level language program can be translated into machine level language program easily by the compiler, only if it is not having any errors. There is one more thing called interpreter, one more translator called interpreter. The translator, little difficult to translate, every time it has to do the translation for executing a program. Using a compiler, it can be easily converted into machine level language. Here, using an interpreter, it takes more time to execute because every time the translation takes place. For every execution, the translation takes place. But when you have an advantage of one particular translator, some disadvantages will be there. When you have the advantages of one particular translator, disadvantage will be there. Okay? So basically, assembler, compiler and an interpreter. These are the three translators used in programming, computer programming. Next, let's talk about the assembler. I have already mentioned about the assembler. This assembler is used to convert the assembly level language to machine level language. And one more thing is, compared to high level language, assembly level language can be converted into machine level language at a higher speed. Fast conversion will be there. Only a minor conversions, because some abbreviations are there. Those abbreviations to be translated into machine level language to get the program executed. It will not take much time to translate. But whereas high level language, the entire program, entire English like language statement to be converted into machine level language program. So it takes more time to translate. There are certain translators available called TASM, Turbo Assembler. Okay, Turbo Assembler. Or MASM, MASM or TASM, Microsoft Micro Assembler. That is one of the translators used to convert assembly level language to machine level language program. But once people join the engineering course, they have to use the kit. We call it as this microprocessor kit. To see the working of that microprocessor, they need to write the program in assembly language. But I told you, assembly language instructions will be given with that kit itself. I told you because of its machine dependency, depends on the language, you will have the set of instructions which are to be followed only in that kit, in that microprocessor. Okay, so you will have to use the assembly level language, and for execution of that program, you will have to use the translators called TASM or MASM. Next, when we go to compilers and interpreters, one by one, let us see. Compiler, I told you, it converts, it translates error-free high-level language program into machine-level language program. I said error-free. It should be free from grammatical errors. Okay, it should be free from grammatical errors. Something like, people use English language for communication, of course. Sometimes they use the bad grammar when they are talking in English. If you ask some question, instead of saying I don't know, they say I doesn't know. In style, they say I doesn't know. It's a wrong usage of the terms. It's a grammatical error. Similarly, in the case of computer language also, you have a statement that needs to be followed, that needs to follow certain rules of writing the instructions in a programming language. And it differs from one language to another language. The rules and regulations for writing the instruction differ from one language to another language, differs from one language to another language. Suppose you violate that rule, compiler cannot detect that statement. That is why it gives an error message. People think that compiler is used to find out the error in a program. It is not to find out the error in a program. It is to correct the errors. So not to correct the errors, it is to translate the programming language written by the user into the machine level programming language or machine understandable programming language. Okay, so first it finds whether there is any error in an instruction. Next instruction, the entire program is considered at once, and then it's going to translate the error-free program at once to the machine level language program. That is one of the activities of this compiler. User written program is called the source program. We call it as the source code. You can see the direction written there. In that direction you can see source code is nothing but the computer program file written by the user. You have a compiler in the middle that performs the translation work. We call it as the compilation. The object code is generated. We call it as the machine code. We call it as the object code also. Using that object code, program can be executed because it's already in the form of computer understandable form language, so it can be executed easily. This is how the compiler works. One entire program will be translated into computer language at one stretch. Single program translates and converts. If you have n number of programs to be translated into machine learning languages, then one by one it is going to translate and then keep the object files. Okay, object codes or object files on there. We call it as object files. Okay, in one of the next slides I'll tell you why that is required. Why that is required. Okay, 4 or 5 programs are there. Those 4 or 5 programs to be translated and kept as object files and then can be linked and then the executable file can be generated. Okay, that's about the compiler. It takes the entire program at one stretch and then translates it into the machine understandable language. You have C language, you have COBOL language, you have quick basic language, Q basic language, turbo basic language. All these have either compilers or interpreters. C++ has a hybrid translator. In the sense, it can be a combination of interpreter and also the compiler. I'll tell you why that interpreter is involved in this particular Turbo C compiler or translator. Next coming to the interpreter. See, in the previous one, you can see an object file is created. But in the present slide, no object is created. Okay, no object is created. On the spot translation takes place. On the spot the conversion takes place. Okay, conversion takes place on the spot. Every time it has to translate. Instruction by instruction it has to translate. Instruction by instruction it has to translate. So this is the interpreter. In this interpreter especially, you have a source program, interpreter is there, execution of the program will be there immediately after that. No object code is generated by the interpreter. Every time the translation takes place, line by line, statement by statement. Compiler is not like that. One entire program will be translated into machine language and that code can be used for execution. But here in this case of interpreter, for every execution, you must have an interpreter and you must have the source code. Using compiler, if you have only the object code is enough. No need to have a compiler. No need to have a compiler. No need to have the source program. I mean the program which is written by the user. That is called source program. You don't need to have that for execution. But when you are using an interpreter, you should have a source code. You should have an interpreter for executing that program in the system. For every execution, interpreter is required. There are some advantages of interpreters. There are some advantages of compiler. Some disadvantages of interpreter. Disadvantages of the compilers also. Basic is there. Prolog is there. Some languages. These languages need the interpreters to translate the language from high level to machine level language. Translation is required, conversion is required. For the sake of conversion or translation, interpreter is required for some languages. But some languages you have compilers. And I told you already, Some languages will have hybrid translators. Next to just the simple diagram which shows how the compilation takes place and how the interpreter works. Compilation, source program, after compilation generates an object code, after linking process it generates an executable file. But whereas in the case of interpreter, there are so many statements available in a program, every statement will be executed one after the other, and of course every time the translation takes place. Take the first instruction, translate it and execute it. Take the second instruction, translate it and execute it. Similarly, take the next instruction. That is how the execution takes place in the case of an interpreter. Next, you have something called linker. That's one of the system software. The major thing is the operating system. I am not told you about the operating system now. There's so much to discuss about operating system and the other things. I'm just talking about only the language translators and certain other, the system software. Next is the linker. That linker is a software which is used to link many different programs which are in the object form, object file. And with the internal library, there are some other programs available within the system itself. It has to link these programs to form a single executable file. Remember, I told you, compiler can translate a set of programs from high-level language to machine-level language. A package is there, software is there, that consists of n number of programs. Those n number of programs to be interlinked, to have a package, to have a software. If you go to shopping mall, there are so many operations involved. The person who is sitting in front of the computer to generate the bill is not aware of a computer language. Okay, set of instructions, so many programs, all programs are linked. Somewhere it has to keep the data from the stores inventory. What is available, all those things it has to take it. Somewhere it has to take the details of the product which is scanned by one particular device. Let's say barcode reader is there. It has to be scanned, it has to be stored, used in the generation of the bill. So many options are there, so many operations are there. So many operations are involved in generating the bill itself. It is something like, it looks only a simple thing. What is there in that? Product is there, you'll show it, and the bill is generated. But what is there inside, you must know. So n number of programs are there, n number of programs to be interlinked to get the executable program. Interlinked. That interlinking process is performed by one of the system softwares called linker. So you can see in the first one, the source program, or it can be a set of programs also, source program. Programs are given to the compiler. Compiler translates and then it generates object code, object program. There is a linking process by the linker. What is that? There is something called internal library functions. Because the operating system should know where the data to be stored, how the data to be stored, as per the instructions given by the user, as per that set of programs, where to store the data, how to store the data. All such things will be defined in the internal library. With the help of internal library, it's going to link the object codes generated by compiler with the internal library programs. I mean, they are all ready-made set of programs. Okay, ready-made set of programs. It is something like this. See, there is a way to accept the data from the keyboard and store it in the memory. There is a way to transfer the data from main memory to the CPU, the central processing unit, or the brain of the system. There is a way to display the output it varies from one language to another language. The way of transferring the data. That way of transferring the data is present in the set of internal library programs or the functions. So it has to link these things to form the executable file. You can see the process step given there. High-level language program, or can be a set of programs. Compiler translates it into object code. Object code is linked with the internal library by the linker. Is one of the the system softwares, and then it is going to be given to, or it's going to produce the executable program. This linking process is performed by one software, system software called the linker. Next to, when we say linker, it links and it keeps the program in the secondary memory. Permanently it will be stored in the memory. Source program is there, it is there in secondary memory. Object program created by the compiler, even that is also there in the secondary memory. Compiler or interpreter or the translators will be there in the secondary memory. But the computer or the central processing unit, which is called the brain of a computer, cannot execute those programs from there, which are stored in the secondary memory. From there itself it cannot execute. It has to be transferred to the main memory. The program for execution should be transferred to main memory. That process of loading the program for execution from the secondary memory to the main memory is performed by one system software called loader. Compiler translates, linker joins or links two or more programs into the system library functions or ready-made programs to generate the executable program with the help of object code. All are present in the secondary memory. Those programs cannot be executed from the secondary memory only. Should be transferred into main memory, and from the main memory only the program should be executed. If you can see the diagram given there, source code, compiler, object code, and it will be given to the linker using the internal library functions. It's going to create the executable file, and that executable file will be transferred into main memory for execution. All this process will be there in when you try to execute a simple program. What we think is, computer does everything, but how it does, we must know. Using a loader, it's a software, it's a system software, which converts the program which is there in the secondary memory into the main memory format. It's going to transfer, and in the meantime it's going to change the pattern to main memory for execution. Okay, this is given by, this is done, this particular job is performed by the system software called the loader. Next to utility software. I told you this utility software will be used by everyone in general. Okay, in general, it is nothing like only the business class people can use this, or scientific application it can be used, or something like that. No specific area where this utility is used, utility package, utility software is used. Okay, every house, irrespective of the people, different level, rich or poor or whoever it is, every house needs to be cleaned. To keep the house clean, every house needs to be cleaned. Poor people can clean themselves. Maybe rich people have assistants to clean, isn't it? That cleaning process will be there in every house, right? But administrative people can perform only the administration work. They cannot go and work in the agriculture farm. Similarly, agriculture person cannot go and sit in the office to work like an administrator. Only if he is educated, it can be. Only if this person knows about the agriculture, farming or something like that, he can do it. But the other way, specific to one particular class of people, isn't it? But whereas the utility software is like, required by everyone. Required by everyone. Say for example, I told you disk cleaner is there. Disk cleaner. That disk cleaner is a software which removes the unwanted files present in the secondary memory. How do you say it is an unwanted file? It is stored by me. How will that come to know that it is unwanted? See, you have stored some files. After some time, you might have deleted some of the programs from that, some of the files from that. Is it not unwanted for you? Of course, it is unwanted for the user. Computer still having that set of programs or the files in the memory. Okay, that will keep those files, programs in the memory, occupying the memory space but not used by the user. Okay, unwanted data, unwanted files present in the memory. You must have seen recycle bin. That recycle bin, what is the purpose of that? Do you think the entire file will be sent to dustbin or something like that? It's going to keep the, send the link to that recycle bin folder. Still it is there in the same place. Physically, it is there in the same place. But the link has been sent to recycle bin, and that link will not be available to the user for any other operation. In case he wants to restore the file, that link will be removed from the recycle bin and will be sent back to the folder where it was stored. Now, that unwanted data has occupied the space. You have not removed it from the recycle bin also. Okay. Periodically, what happens? When it is increased, it may affect the working of a memory. Sometimes it may say memory is full, or it may take a long time. Isn't it? Long time. So, to avoid all these things, disk cleaner should be used. That disk cleaner periodically checks for such unwanted data, removes them physically, reorder the entire file system. We call it as defragmentation. Fragmentation means the files are scattered at different locations. Defragmentation is keeping all the things together. Contents of one file should be kept intact in one place. You will be writing the notes in the form of sheets. One particular subject notes. It is scattered at different places because you are not attending only one subject class on a day. First period one class, second period another class, third period another class, etc. So when you go home and when you try to see what is there, it needs to be rearranged, isn't it? That rearrangement is called defragmentation. Similarly, antivirus package. These are the few utility software available. Okay. Some questions related to this are given there. Some questions. You need to, so these questions will be asked in the final examination for 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 marks and 5 marks. You need to practice them daily. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you.